Morning, everyone. The Mackinac Bridge Authority will now be called to order. Today's date is July 9th, 2025, 9 a.m. First item on the, Kim, would you call the roll, please?
Chairman Gleason,
Yes.
Director Weaver,
Yes.
Vice Chair Milliken,
Yes.
Member Musser,
Here.
Member Cheeseman,
Yes.
Member Aaron's,
Here.
Council Gleason. Present.
And member Piante is excused. Just let the record reflect that. Okay, thank you very much. The approval of the agenda. Before you have the agenda for today's meeting, a motion will be in order to approve it as presented unless there's amendments to the agenda.
I move approval of the agenda.
Second.
Been moved and supported, the agenda be approved as presented. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Public comment on agenda items. Anybody from the public wishing to comment on the agenda items? Anyone from the public? Okay. Acceptance of the minutes of the Finance Committee meeting of March 13th, 2025, and the official meeting March 14th, 2025. And unless there's any additions or corrections, there would be a motion to be approved in order.
I move approval of those minutes.
Supported the minutes of the Finance Committee meeting and the official meeting held in March of this year to be approved as presented. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We have now our first lieutenant with us to address the board. He's also the post commander in the St. Agnes post. First lieutenant, there he is. Good morning, Lieutenant.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, all.
Yeah.
My name's Artfitch. I believe I've had a chance to meet most, if not all of you so far. I'm the post commander over at St. Agnes. I started there about 2 months ago. I'm pleased to be back. I was previously a sergeant there for about 2.5 years. So it's nice to come into a position where all of my introductions are fresh introductions for once. So it's good to be back to the field. We've got about 10 troopers at our post right now. Obviously, staffing is always a concern for us. Part of what goes hand in hand with that is we rely on our local agency partners. I'm pleased to be here with Chief Woods and Bryce Tracy. And we can't do what we do at the state police without their help as well, particularly up north and here at the bridge. So a couple of my priorities really are fairly straightforward as far as the post goes. I'm emphasizing high visibility traffic enforcement. We've had the opportunity to do a couple details on the bridge already. Looking forward to doing more of those as our time and dispatch calls allow us to. And then I also come from the world of criminal interdiction. So naturally the bridge is a choke point for anyone seeking to smuggle contraband or engage in other nefarious activity north of the bridge. So we aim to take advantage of that at our post. I've got some of my troopers excited about that and learning that set of skills and taking advantage of the geography unique to our post that we have. So I'm looking forward to what the future holds and to working with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Lieutenant, and also the other law enforcement agents here locally. And, you know, everyone does such a great service for us at the Mackinac Bridge. Thank you for everything you folks do. Appreciate it. Okay, and speaking of sergeants, we got our favorite sergeant with us here today, Sergeant Warner. It's always interesting to hear your report on the commercial enforcement on the Mackinac Bridge.
Morning.
Good morning.
So normally I go over all the weight motion scales, all that stuff. All that information still is a vital resource that we have. We've been working with the Bridge Authority to make sure that's all being maintained properly. The recent activity we've been doing and trying to focus on is to target more of the distracted driving, aggressive driving behavior. One thing that we did focus on in the last couple of weeks to address was we identified an issue with overloaded trucks coming across the bridge. as a result of the ice storm that we had in the end of March, early April, the mills down there have become overloaded with the amount of wood that they can take. So a lot of loads of logs are coming north across the bridge to mills in the UP, which are carriers that aren't familiar and normal people that come across in terms of frequency. So doing some weight stat and some checking with some of the officers, we identified that there's a few carriers that were running significantly overweight through that time. We ended up reaching out with the bridge authority, identified some of the carriers to get parameters set that they can be put on notice and kind of keep an eye on that. We resulted with quite a few stops. I spent 2 weeks ago, I brought an entire squad of mine down just to work the bridge solely for that, because I wanted that addressed immediately and prior to any holiday travel, because we know the week of 4th of July was gonna get really busy. So to have anything that could be prevented done beforehand was our goal. I would say we were very successful in that. We identified another carrier and we already have shifts for the officer to come in and to rectify. Seemed like between about 6 to 8 in the morning, we were seeing the normal traffic. And then between 8 and noon, we were getting a few frequent flyers. One of them has transitioned to come across about 3 to 4 in the morning. So instead of complying, we're gonna go that route. And we've already made arrangements to make sure that I have overtime available for that officer if he chooses to work it, and also the availability if the bridge does get something that they know and working our way there. That way we can get in touch and be ready if it's crossing before we were in position. So that's just one kind of a recent thing that's going on that's out of the normal of our operations. I did set up this summer. I was kind of waiting for that resurfacing project to be finished. And I wanted to open up immediately just to get the message across to the industry about the passing, the cell phones, speeding on the bridge, as well as our overweight focus. That focus is always there. It just kind of gets put to the side when you're so focused on that aggressive driving behavior. So I contacted the 7th district, which is the Gaylor Post area, and I requested them to send up a squad, and I brought my whole squad in. So I had a total of 7 officers positioned on the bridge on June 6th. I had their squad south side, my squad north side, and with this operation we conducted, I just kind of pencil scratched some numbers. The biggest thing I want to stress is these numbers are accurate with what we stopped, but with what was called out, we had way more violations that we observed. So with seeing what we were observing that day, we're gonna be doing more of these joint operations. I already spoke with their command. I already have approval. I just need to give them some notice on setting this up. A couple of the stops were more significant with serious safety violations. The one stop lasted approximately 3 hours because of how egregious the violations were, and it became an issue with violations that were noted on prior inspections that were not fixed, and he was stopped again. So there was some more thorough enforcement that needed to take place. That one particular stop was overweight as well. The fine for that was $5,550. That was a very in-depth stop. So with it being that long and thorough, that takes one of my sources away. So when we were trying to get traffic stops made, that's one less person I had. I had another stop one of my officers made for a driver with a fraudulent CDL. And there was some issues kind of on the backside of everything else going on with logbooks and such. That was a longer stop as well. So out of the 4 officers I had on the north side of the bridge, 2 of them were down for a significant amount of time, which gave us a little bit of lapse of coverage. But again, we were still calling out both direction traffic stops. Total inspections we had that day, we had 21. Out of the 21, 7 of them resulted in out of service violations. Kind of the bulk issue that day, we had 3 of them were out of service for the no CDLs. So they weren't even qualified to be driving the vehicles they were operating on the bridge that day. 4 of them were passing. 1 of them was a cell phone. Again, back to the cell phone though, because I know it just says 1, but that's not accurate to what we were observing. Because we had the down amount of people for their time, stops were being called out and relayed to them, but there was just nobody to intercept them at that time. That was one thing that I kind of learned from this operation was I can plan to have more people set up to handle the more in-depth inspections if ones are needed, while I have other officers brought in to be there to cover that downtime if there's a gap of enforcement there. The passing continues to be a challenge for us to curb. I know I spoke about this a few years ago, and the common theme I get from the drivers is, well, they didn't see the signs. The signs are very clearly posted, very well posted. Just last week, I stopped a company that's from our local area that crosses the bridge every day, and he tried to explain to me that he didn't see any of the signs. I dealt with it accordingly. I can hopefully assure you that won't happen again with our action. But, no, it's been a very good year overall. The relationship with commercial vehicle enforcement and the bridge authority is very positive. I can extend how appreciative we are of all the resources that are available there with the rest area on both sides of the bridge, having the cutouts where we can weigh trucks, as well as the platform scale that's there, the weigh in motion that we utilize. If it wasn't for those systems, I can't attest to how many vehicles be coming across that bridge unchecked, because that screening tool is what really triggers us to narrow down who we want to pull over when it comes to the egregious overweight violations. During day shift, one of the shift supervisors, he's very adamant on reaching out to us when they have issues. I try to have an officer there all the time. Again, we're low on numbers with our enforcers in a large area. I try to make sure we have somebody there, but there are times that we just can't have somebody available. With vacation time, one of our officers is just gonna be coming off of paternal leave. So that officer was out for the last 3 months, so it short staffed us a little bit. But coming in, starting Friday, moving forward for the rest of the year, we're gonna be full staffed and plan to do more operations to keep doing what we're doing.
Well, thank you. The best way we can protect the structural integrity of that bridge is through your good service.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for that, because there's nothing more damaging to the bridge than weight, as we all, so. Well,
These 21 inspections, were these all commercial carriers?
Yes, sir. So when I say inspections, anytime we stop a vehicle that qualifies per our agreement with the federal government on the commercial vehicle enforcement operations that we do an inspection. It's a North Atlantic standard is what it's called, the NAS inspection. And basically that's governed and watched over by the federal government. So even anytime we would list a violation on there, if there weren't a ticket even issued, there's still repercussion for their actions on there. So a driver that we stopped for a cell phone, let's say, there's the repercussion of a citation, which in Michigan, it would have the points assigned to it, the fine and everything with that. But also on the federal side, their company and that driver are being tracked, and they have so many unsafe driving behaviors within a certain amount of time. A driver may get suspended without ever even receiving a citation from us, because these violations are being tracked on that aspect. When I ran that report, I only ran it for inspections. I didn't run it for the non-qualifying vehicles. I'm glad you actually brought that up. There was other non-qualifying vehicles. My cell phone numbers would have been higher if I would have ran it for the non-qualifying. And what qualifies is any vehicle over 10,000 pounds physical weight or weight rating. That's what dictates it as a commercial motor vehicle for the federal definition. So a pickup truck that has a carrier name on it or is being utilized for commercial business, we still have authority over them. They just don't qualify for that inspection. So it's either a verbal warning or a citation. And I know there was ones issued on those because I was one of the primary people calling to the southbound side to let them know what was coming. And also that day we were working with the bridge authority that I had one of the radios. So if the escort vehicle observed something and I was out of position, they were able to call it out. I could relay it, and then they were observing it on the other side of the bridge as well. So again, as far as team effort goes, this operation couldn't have gone any better without the aspect that next time I will bring more people. I thought we had enough with 7, but it was a busy day, and yeah, so does that answer that for the most part of it?
It sounds like good behavior is important at the bridge.
Yeah, yep.
and when the word gets out, that helps a little bit too.
Yeah, and that's our biggest resource. And when I got contacted regarding that issue about the companies that were doing it, they all talk amongst themselves. It's all local, northern Michigan, northern lower, UP, east side, kind of is more the companies that we were dealing with. And really one day of just very strict, heavy enforcement would get the message across. I just wanted to make sure we weren't playing games, and we made it a whole week long to bring people in and do that, and that's how we observed that they just disappeared by compliance because they weren't showing up on the Wayne motion as overweight anymore, but we also picked up that there was one particular that is coming a little bit earlier than when we're working, so we'll be working. So it's part of the, I guess, somebody might call it the game we play, you know? We alter their behavior, and it just, if they're not gonna comply, they come around with a way to try to, it's the typical law enforcement cat and mouse game, so.
Do our cameras pick up this early bird that goes through?
Yeah, that's how it's been observed and identified. And also with that one there, I'd have to confirm, but I'm pretty sure they're MacPass. So there's also a tracking of the times there. My one officer was one that really picked out that early AM shift because we were having traffic stops with that particular company on the west end of the UP. And when we get where they coming from, where they going to, verifying other stuff. And when we weigh them and we determine their weight, that's what kind of caused us to go back and start saying, okay, when did you cross the bridge? You were overweight here, so how were you not overweight there? And it was just a matter of putting things in line and identifying it. And we caught it pretty quickly. It's just frustrating the fact that most of our local companies know that the bridge is strictly enforced. So to try to play that game, again, yeah, it doesn't. And our local prosecutors on both sides of the bridges have taken a stance that, you know, one time there's mistakes that can be made, it happens. And when you start going over gross, that's a whole different story because you know what you're milling or get weight at the mill. So they have a one ticket saying what their weight was there, so they know where their lowest to and stuff, so.
Excellent.
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to add that, you mentioned MacPass, so we have the ability at the bridge to temporarily suspend their MacPass. So they can't just slide through there, they have to actually stop. And then most of those haulers have, our truck permit, where they're allowed to go by themselves normally, but if they're offend like that, we can suspend that truck permit, and then they have to get escorted 6 more times at $100 a time to make sure they behave, so. You know, we both have some tools to in our toolbox to help with this. And then I had a question for you, if you might describe your whole area that you're responsible for, because I know you're not just responsible for the bridge.
Yeah, so my area that I have is the entire east end of the UP, and that. I say that's because we have 2 sergeants in the UP and we just split it right down the middle. My particular area for the officers I have assigned to me are Mackinac County, Sheboygan County, or Chippewa County, Lewis County, and we have officers that are right on that Schoolcraft line, so we kind of absorb that as well. For my squad, I only have 4 officers plus myself that work in the area, so for 2 of them, it's over an hour to get here. And then the other 2 I have are stationed right out of the post. So typically we'll have myself and 2 other officers in that area. My one officer is very high performing, so I gotta give him something. I like to bring him down to the bridge. It can be a busy day, so. Yeah, but yeah, I'm glad you brought that up though with the MacPass and that there, because I know that's been going on. And that's been kind of part of our communication back and forth was some of these companies were getting that MacPass turned off and everything with that, so. But a lot of tools and resources, it's a fun working environment, to be honest with you, just for the fact of we specialize in commercial vehicles, and because of the bridge being right there in a natural funnel, you get more eyes on truck time versus just being on a highway going 70 miles past each other, and it's just a second like that, so. But yeah, if there's anything ever needed in the future from me or our operations, feel free to reach out, and we're always looking to make it more fun for our people that do the enforcement, more educational for the industry. I can't tell you how many times I've gone into companies in our area just to try to get them the information prior to. Also last week, we had some work zone enforcement that we were really cracking down on just north of the bridge. And part of the conversations I was having with drivers there was they were telling me they're going through the bridge quite a bit right now because of the log stuff that's being transported to the UP. And I was even giving them then reminders, hey, just so you know, when you're on that bridge, if you haven't been educated, that it's 500 feet following distance, 20 if you're loaded, 45 if you're empty, but if you catch up to somebody, you can't be passing. And even without being on a stop at the bridge, we're still creating that atmosphere to educate them that when they are there, we don't run into these problems. Because at the end of the day, we're not trying to create revenue or issue citations as a punishment. We're trying to get that compliance, and it's through the enforcement that we achieve that.
Thank you. We've always appreciated our partnership. I indicated earlier with other law enforcement agencies. Really important.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, under old business, we have the 2024, 2025 maintenance, paving, maintenance, project updates. Matthew, it's always a pleasure to see you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning. So I'm here to give the final project update for project N00239, which was our approach truss deck rehabilitation project. So to touch on what was completed this spring. So the two big action items were on the left there. You can see replacing the original finger joint at Pier 34 to a new watertight sealed modular joint there on the right side. And then the other picture is just an example of some minimal deck patching that we did on the north viaduct span, just in the southbound lanes, because the northbound lanes were all completed last spring. Some other work that was done, the anchor piers in the roadway, they were both sealed with a waterproofing membrane. And the vent piers that had an elastomeric concrete put over them to keep the water out of those as well. So kind of going over the original schedule for the project that I presented on in March, but then to touch on the actual schedule. So due to weather, mostly the ice storm, that delayed our closing until the 5th, which 2 days prior to that, we were closed for falling ice. So, and that was due to the response of our crews, kind of switching gears from bridge closure into preparing for our spring construction season. So I give a lot of kudos to them. They did an amazing job. So we closed the southbound lanes, did this joint replacement there seen on the right, and then also the deck patching was done in this stage. On May 9th, the traffic was switched from the northbound lanes to the southbound lanes, and then the other side of the joint was replaced. So the full width, the 4 lanes of the joint were replaced this spring. And just to highlight in this picture, just the there was a lot of removals that were required with this joint replacement, and tying in the new steel to the existing steel. It was a very in-depth process. So, but we were able to get everything done smoothly, and with the assistance of our construction engineer, Rowe, where there's some representatives from that company here today. The MBA, we're working also with MDOT, working with Rowe to get that project done. And then on May 30th, we were open to traffic with periodic lane closures to finish up some of the contract items, which they're all done at this point. There's one remaining contract item for them to apply a silane treatment to the curb. And once that is complete, all the work as part of this project will be completed. So we're excited for that. It's been a long time coming. And then as an overview, this project has seen some changes over its several-year life, but the work that was originally planned to be completed, as I mentioned, replace the finger joint at Pier 34, seal the vent piers with elastomeric concrete, apply the waterproofing membrane at the anchor piers, and deck patch and repave both the northbound and the southbound lanes. So we were able to check a lot of that off the list with some exceptions, but for applying the waterproofing membrane on the anchor pier, contractor did complete the 4 lanes that traffic drives over, but not the parking areas on the anchorages. And the MBA will be applying a latex sealer to those parking areas this summer, just to keep them watertight and protect the important infrastructure underneath. And since these parking areas don't see traffic, we believe this is a good alternative to the original project. And then also the minus the north viaduct in the southbound lanes, the approach spans were not patched and repaved due to scheduling. And the project for that will occur in a future spring season. So that is still on our list. And that will really conclude all the work that was recommended to us from our 2020 deck study to prolong the service life of the deck as long as possible, as is the board's priority to keep saving for that large construction project. So that will be the last item that needs to be completed. And then to kind of switch gears to our internal maintenance projects. We've been busy, not just helping the contractor performing traffic control, but also, as we always do, wash the bridge every spring to get the sand and some of the road salt that gets tracked on the bridge off. Our concrete crew has been busy replacing some curb inlets in our parking area, as you can see in the middle there, and then also curb on the bridge, as well as deck patching. But we are seeing a lot less deck patching due to the new overlay. Well, we haven't seen any deck patching on the northbound lanes due to the new overlay and get the water out of there. And then also a kind of an interesting project we've been working on due to the ice storm. There was some cosmetic damage to the east cable stanchions, hand rope stanchions. So you can see there on the left, that's highlighted. So we've been trying to find a supplier that is able to forge these stanchions, which the best way to describe it is they're kind of blacksmithed back in the day. And yeah, we were told by a lot of forging outfits in Traverse City and Detroit that they don't really do that anymore, and just finding a company that has the equipment to replace in kind, because that is a goal. We do have a welding detail that we're able to weld up 1 or 2 stanchions if we were to need them, but we're going to need about 200 of them. So we'd like to source that out, but we think we found a supplier in Detroit for that. So we're going to continue working with them and get those replaced. But kind of an interesting project, looking back at the original construction and how they manufactured different components of the bridge. So it's very, very cool to work on. I'm also highlighting some work we've done with MDOT. We, in like kind to the MDOT rest areas, we installed a hands-free law sign at our Bridgeview Park because we manage that internally. And then we've also been working with the Bureau of Bridges and Structures and their statewide support group for some new materials that we can use for our deck patching. Some early strength concrete to add to our toolbox in addition to the T17. The T17 product that we use doesn't have water in it. It is expensive, but there is also a lot more technology and products that they've been kind of sharing with us that we hadn't known about previously, that we can still open to traffic within a couple hours, but it's easier to mix. It's more cost effective for us to use, and they've been using it with a lot of success. And another project they've been helping us with is applying silane to as much concrete on the bridge as we can, just to help seal that and keep the water out and preserve the original concrete there. Specifically the curbs and the anchor piers and whatnot. So any questions on maintenance?
Excellent.
And then I guess my next presentation will be on the 67th annual inspection of the Mackinac Bridge. So the 2024 inspection was performed by Parsons. They were on site July 8th, and they were there until July 19th. There was some follow-up inspections that they'd come for a couple days in August just to complete some checklist items. So yeah, you were all provided the abridged version of the inspection report to look through. So just to touch on the overall summary. Overall, the condition of the structure has not changed significantly since the previous annual and non-redundant steel tension member inspections. So that's great news. The paint condition was rated all the way from new paint put on by our crews this year and last year, but all the way down to fair, which is still great. There's a lot of ratings below that too, but some of the fair paint conditions, we see that below the road deck, mainly in the towers. And that's a high action item for our internal maintenance crew to get in there and vacuum out the road debris that gets in there and holds the, what did I do? Oh, that holds the moisture on the paint coating system. So we go in every spring and clean the towers, most specifically the bottom cells of the tower. There's also weep holes in there to keep the water out of that, but those were all repainted in our last tower painting contract. But definitely the paint that we're keeping a close eye on for sure. So the inspection noted that as well. And the most notable change in the ratings were from the expansion joints. So these ratings are coming from the MyBridge software that MDOT uses and we report to FHWA. And just to touch on those changes, that the projects over the last 3 years, and then this one future project that I touched on, so they have and will address all the joints on the bridge, which were the driving force of this rating change. Except those on the suspended span in the South Viaduct, which those are the newest joints, especially on the South Viaduct. So after we complete, well, after we completed this project that we did in the spring and our next project, we will see that rating go back up. So that's important to note. So I also included, yesterday I set out in the handout, just some of the priority items that the inspection identified for us, and making our checklist for our maintenance program. It's low, and I'm pulling these from section C in the inspection report that was provided to you. So just to kind of highlight what the inspection found and what the bridge is doing about it. So some of these work projects that we're completing, we're currently finalizing a repair design with a consultant for some floor truss repairs. And we're hoping to start construction on that internally next year. We're also, as you know, the beam crew in our maintenance department, they're busy along with me, and then our inspection consultants monitoring the condition of our cross beams and our stringers, mostly on our suspended span. Another thing that was noted was the travelers, the condition of the travelers to provide maintenance access to our crews. And we're currently working with another consultant to drive a traveler rehabilitation program to bring those up to current standards. And when those were installed by a contractor, they were never meant to be permanent. We've been using them permanently and they help us. So this project that's in the budget will address that concern. And then also, as you know, replacing the open grading sections. So since this inspection, we have replaced 21 panels that were noted in the inspection, and we have 15 left on the list that were called out. So we're over halfway through, but as the next annual inspection starts up here in the next month, we'll have more added to the list. So, but we're keeping up with that grade. So this was the last annual inspection as part of that contract. So we complete the inspections on a 4-year cycle. So in 2025, as I mentioned, the inspection will start up in the next couple of weeks. And that inspection will be performed by Majeski and Masters. And as I mentioned, not only the inspection contract, but there's also an as-needed contract, which that's what we'll be doing the traveler rehabilitation project under this contract. And then also some Labor Day studies and a engineering study looking at cable anchorage chamber dehumidification options. So those will all be completed in the next 4 years and kind of giving you the schedule. So M&M in 2025, and then the other consultant that was selected was Parsons. So they will perform the inspection in 2026 and 28 for another round to occur in 2029. So we're excited for this contract. So questions on the inspection? Yeah.
Anybody have any questions? Thank you for all your good work, and make sure you pass that on to the individual from the maintenance group that's actually, because of the good work, we get good results. So, thank you so very much. Thank you for your good work. All this.
Thank you.
Always good to have good inspection reports like that. Okay. Annual bridge walk, Kipper.
Yes, sir.
Good morning, Jeff. How are you this morning?
I'm good. Good morning. I tried to get Matthew to go up to the podium, but he wouldn't do it. So I guess I'll present from here. Again, good morning. I'm just here to present on the 2025 Labor Day Bridge Walk and our plans with the 67th annual, corresponds with the 67th annual inspection as well. So I'd like to just take a second to acknowledge our committee. We have a small committee that meets regularly to make sure that everything with the walk is meeting the deadlines to make sure it's a successful one. So Cam Hanson, our CFO, Matthew Fairwitz, our assistant engineer, Shannon Hoon, who is our financial analyst, and Joe Champagne, who is our head foreman for maintenance. So we meet regularly with also law enforcement too, to ensure that plans are well underway and that we have everything in place that we need to have in place. James Lake also assists us with ensuring that notices are put out. He helps us with this beautiful flyer that's put in welcome centers and posted around the state with sending this and Mackinac City areas. So just like last year, the format is going to be the same. Walkers will start at 7 o'clock and they will be off the bridge by noon. We'll have various U-turns where they can walk certain sections of the bridge. And there'll be time frames where those U-turns will be enforced. Similar to last year, following success of the move from the walk, the start of the walk on the north side, we will be starting the walk from Bridgeview Park again. There was really some main components that made this move successful. In the past, we'd started the walk over in the main campus area of the bridge. And what we found by moving into Bridgeview Park was it better utilized the space that we own. And it also allows for pedestrians that park in this area here to avoid crossing 75 in the early morning hours. So it's a safety component behind that as well. It also helps, keep the main public off our main campus area and our surrounding buildings. So it was a beneficial move. And we are excited to have it started over again here this year. So some notable improvements because we're going to keep it in Bridgeview Park. We are adding a communication piece to hopefully help our walkers continue to understand where the key component turnarounds are. So we're purchasing banana banners that will be hung on the side of the bridge railing, essentially, indicating where some key turnarounds are. So we'll have one at center span, we'll have one at an 11 o'clock turnaround, and we'll have one at 10:30. And those will be on the side of the bridge and hopefully help our public understand where those turnaround areas are. There's always questions about that during the walk, and we're just hopeful to make the experience better for the walkers and making making the turnaround areas clear. We're also adding a pedestrian curb ramp to the start of the walk, so it'll be right here in Ridgeview Park. Tied to 75. We had just put a temporary ramp in there when we first tried to move the walk over there just to see if it would work. Now that we found it was successful, we're gonna install a more permanent ramp with our talented maintenance staff. And will do that for us, so that'll be a permanent fixture there. And then, like always, we always provide certificates at the end of the walk for our walkers, and these are what these will look like this year. We work with, again, James' team to make really beautiful flyers or certificates that we can hand to the walkers. And again, we work with the North Country Trail Association and put that on the back of our certificates as well. So we're looking forward to another successful walk.
Thank you.
Any other
And
questions?
what makes the walk so successful, it's all good work that you, staff does, it's all important to the community, everything.
It's a full
That
team.
happens, but a lot of meetings, a lot of time, a lot of effort, so.
Yeah.
We really appreciate that, thank you, each and every one.
Yeah, and I mentioned the small committee, but our staff of 91 employees all help us. It's all hands on deck during that day. So they do a lot of prep work behind the scenes. That doesn't get recognized to make sure that the walk's successful and safe. And so it's a credit to them as well. So
Thank you very much. Any questions, Jeff, before we? Thanks, Jeff.
thank you.
Jim? We got it. It's been, the reports, the presentation's been absolutely picture perfect. Just keep it going. And I know this is a tough one to get through.
Yeah, that's- keep up with this legislation.
I don't know how you find any positive here, but I want to hear it.
Okay, you can see on the screen there and in your packet, the history of the two bills that we've been following in the legislature. Senate Bill 71 that was put forth by Senator DeMoose has quite a long history there, and you can see that it went through the Senate committee, it went through the full Senate, it went through the Transportation Committee and was voted out, and we're waiting for it to be brought forth to the full House of Representatives to vote on that, and then it will go to the governor's office. But if you notice closely the dates there, on the Senate Bill 71 on 5/6 of 2025, it was voted out to go to the full House of Representatives, and then the following day, House Bill 4470 was put forth, introduced by Representative Dave Preston, and that bill is an identical bill to 71, Senate Bill 71, and so we're now following two bills and wondering how that will shake out. I don't have any new news from our legislative liaison of MDOT. I asked them if there's anything rumbling about either of these bills right now, and they said, no, there is not. So we'll just keep watching what happens.
Well, thank you, Jim, and just bring everybody up to speed. It's been about a 5-year budget now. I wish someone that may go pretty close.
That's right.
And, you know, Kim, our vice chair, Bill Milliken, I do remember Marty Zante's been doing a great job. Had a lot of assistance from MDOT, but we just can't seem to get it over the hump. And if there was ever a bill that's nonpartisan,
Right.
I think it would be this stuff.
Yeah, and you mentioned that, so the votes that it did get going through the Senate were unanimous.
Yeah.
So,
How often does that happen? Any time?
right, yeah.
And not, hit
So
the floor at us.
we,
But thank you.
we suspect that the House of Representatives vote would also be
Yeah,
similar. So
you
if it can just get there.
put a lot of time and work and effort, all the meetings, committee testimony and everything. So,
Well, and you also helping us testify at committee. Very nice.
any questions of Kim before? Thank you, Kim. Very good report. Okay, before I introduce the next presenter, I'm going to ask our Vice Chair, Bill Milliken, to do a Bill's been working to the economic impact studies that you have in front of you. So, Bill, if you would please introduce.
Yeah, I'll be glad to. Lauren Branneman is with us today. She is from Public Sector Consultants in Lansing. It's an established nonpartisan firm that we signed up with to commission this economic study. Lauren is the Director of Data Science and Economics in Public Sector Consulting. And she's here today to present what is now a completed report on the Mackinac Bridge Authority and its economic impact on northern Michigan. Lauren, would you come forward and describe this to us?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I've met many of you. And some of you had the pleasure of getting a brief update on our work about 3 months ago at one of your previous meetings, but now we've got a finished report and we're excited to share the results with you. So what is the economic value that the bridge drives on an annual basis? And what's the economic activity that is generated by the Labor Day Bridge Walk event? That's what our study is answering here. We've got a very detailed, lengthy report. I'm giving you some high-level information, but you can get all the detail in the report and a very detailed methodological statement in the back of the report too. So it tells you exactly how we approached this work, all the sources that we used, and how we arrived at our findings. And so these are the 4 major components of the project here. We started with data collection and model design. This took up the majority of the time, is just coming up with estimates for the contribution of the bridge on an annual basis, as well as for the bridge walk event. And the contribution of the bridge stems from 2 major things. It's tourism, and that's the operational spending by the Mackinac Bridge Authority. We also conducted a survey for bridge users and for business owners in St. Ignace and Mackinac City. And this is a qualitative survey. It just supports the findings of the quantitative research and just adds some color to the report. So the Mackinac Bridge attracts millions of people every single year. Millions of people cross the bridge, but not everyone stays when they cross the bridge. Not everyone stays in Mackinac City or St. Ignace. So this analysis focuses on those visitors who traveled more than 50 miles. They crossed the bridge and they stayed in either Mackinac City or St. Ignace for 45 minutes or longer. And they spent money on things like transportation, food, shopping, recreation, and other things. So we call these non-local visitors. They're traveling from 50 miles or farther and spending money in the local economy. And that's where we get our direct effect. This is spending from these visitors, and it's spending by the Mackinac Bridge Authority to maintain and operate the bridge. But this spending doesn't stop there. We've got what's called the ripple effect when we talk about economic impact or economic contribution. And this is shown through the indirect effect and the induced effect. So the indirect effect occurs when direct spending occurs and it ripples throughout the economy, and there is spending from businesses to other businesses. And then we've got induced effects that include spending from households because of the labor income that increases in the area. And so we talk about this total contribution, which includes the direct, the indirect, and the induced effects through employment, labor income, value added, which is also GDP, output, and then we also come up with some estimates for taxes that are supported because of this spending. So what was the annual contribution of the Mackinac Bridge, which includes spending from tourism and the Mackinac Bridge Authority? Statewide, it generated approximately $193 million in statewide output, $162 million of which stayed in the regional economy, which is the 3-county area of Mackinac, Sheboygan, and Emmett. Another way to put this is for every $1 in tolls paid, there were an additional $7.27 in output generated across the state. This also supported over 1,400 jobs and $72.4 million in labor income. Next, we're going to talk about the Mackinac Bridge Walk event. We looked at the 2024 event, and we see here the visitation from people who attended the event. Visitors from 34 states participated in the walk last year. And an estimated 32,788 attendees. Overall, they contributed nearly $3 million in statewide output, which supported an average annual of 23 jobs. $2.4 million of that output was concentrated in the 3-county region. For every $1 invested by the Mackinac Bridge Authority to put this event on, there was an additional $10.83 generated in the Tri-County area in output. So as I mentioned earlier, we also did a couple of surveys to corroborate and support these findings. First, we surveyed bridge users to ask them about their bridge experience overall, the purpose of their use of the bridge, and also about their bridge walk experience. And we also surveyed local businesses to ask them about their thoughts on, many of the events that occur on the bridge and around the bridge and how it impacts their business. The bridge users surveyed, we got 15,000 responses, which is an astronomical number. If you know anything about survey research, that's a pretty darn good number. 12% of those users were from outside of the state of Michigan. Of those 15,000 survey participants, 45% indicated that one of their main purposes for crossing the bridge was simply just to enjoy the views of the bridge. 49% of the survey participants who attended the bridge walk, they indicated that they stayed one or more nights leading up to the event. We got a pretty decent response rate from business owners as well. About 45% of those were located in Mackinac City and about 42% in St. Ignace. And then there were a couple of other small towns where we got responses too. We have to thank the Mackinac City Chamber of Commerce and the St. Ignace Chamber of Commerce as well for helping us distribute this survey. So we see that 45% of the area businesses surveyed noted that their business is primarily supported by non-local customers. And nearly 2/3 of those businesses surveyed said that the bridge walk had a positive impact on their business. And another thing to note, and you can see this in the report too, is that a lot of the business owners said that they would like to see more off-season related events occur and even some more in-season events occur around the bridge too. So this all culminated in a final report. You see this is a picture of our executive summary and a nice, highly designed graphic, couple of pages. As I mentioned earlier, it's a pretty lengthy report, but all of our methods are detailed in it. So you should be able to have a good understanding of how we arrived at these findings. And yeah, we're excited to share this with you. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you. Very nice presentation, Bill.
It's fun to see the culmination of this 6 months of work that we've done together, Lauren. Thank you for that comprehensive report. Brand new data. We've never had any objective assessment of the economic impact of Brady's presence in the bridge walk. Any other comments from anybody at the table?
Hearing none, this is an action item, so a motion would be in order to accept or reject the impact study.
I'd be happy to make a motion to accept this study with our pretty thanks for it.
Is there support?
Support.
Been moved and duly supported that the economic impact study be accepted as presented. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay, Bill, if you would, there was some action taken yesterday from the invoices from the local law enforcement as well as the EMS invoices from last last year's bridge walk, I should say.
As chair of the finance committee, yesterday we discussed this. We had invoices presented by a couple of public agencies for reimbursement for expenses that they incurred and associated with the bridge walk. Finance Committee is not supportive of reimbursement to public agencies for the expenses that they incurred. And it is our recommendation that the Mackinac Bridge Authority notify the agencies that it will not pay the invoices that have presented, being asking for reimbursement of these services. And I make that motion to the board.
Do I hear support of the motion? Support, and move support to invoice not be paid for the 2024 bridge walk. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing, I'm sorry.
It would be the reimbursement for 2024, but asking money for 2025. So
No,
just-
no, it's just, it was a invoice that we received
Thank you.
last
Sorry.
year. I'm
Thank you.
sorry. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor, signal, or, you know, like this is a money matter, roll call, please, I'm sorry.
I think there's some confusion.
Well, it's here as an action item, it's gonna come up again on the financial.
Right, but, there's confusion on what was voted on yesterday, versus 2024 and 25.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. We're voting on a invoice that we received. The first one actually a year ago for the date office. And we received another one by the EMS soon. Mackinac City gave us one last year. Correct?
As an example of what,
Yeah.
yeah,
And which was $11,000. 9,000, I think it was, and then EMS come in.
we weren't actually invoiced by the EMS.
Well, there was-
They gave an
made a
example of their
presentation.
costs.
Okay, so what do you think we should do here? We know we got one invoice for sure.
Yes, but it was given to us as an example of what the 2025 invoice might be.
So there's no action needed as far as paying go.
Right,
There's no
2024, but
Actually,
there's no action.
it was,
It's the future we're
Yeah.
looking to have action on.
if I
I
understand.
did not even, so.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's what I
I
was trying
see,
to
very
clarify. Mr.
good,
Chairman,
I
sorry.
understand now. When I use the term invoices, it made it sound like there was a bill that was an
No,
outlying bill in there.
no,
Okay. If it's part of the motion, would withdraw its, okay, yeah. After withdraw your motion, then it's accepted under the. Is that what
So
you're saying?
action's not necessary, Kim?
action is necessary.
Going forward.
We're going forward, and that's what I thought you voted on yesterday at the finance meeting,
Right.
Yes.
is future invoices and costs from 2025.
The motion needs to be for future.
Right,
And that's what I thought occurred yesterday at the
Yeah.
finance meeting. So that's why I just wanted clarification on the future part of it. So
Thank you, Barb, for bringing that up. That was my mistake. Thank you. So
And my motion is so amended
Yeah.
to address future requests for reimbursement.
and I support that. Now that I'm totally confused here. Everybody understand the motion? Please, let's clarify. Okay, very good. There's no need for a roll call. It's not actual money being spent. So all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Thank you, my apologies. Go, you still have the floor, the finance committee report.
Thank you. Finance Committee met yesterday afternoon. We had an investment update and economic report from representatives of the Michigan Department of Treasury, Lon Chen and Andrew Kaligarakis. Mike Kirby gave us a traffic and revenue report, which showed actually that some of the traffic was off a little bit. We had a good January, but weather closures since then saw some of our numbers fall over the prior year. Tammy Hansen gave us budget update for the 2026 budget. Our traffic is consistently budgeted with an annual 0.75% increase each year, bringing that estimate number to 4,566,000 crossings. Total operating revenue for 2026, $25,854,000. And total operating expenses in that period, $24,391,000. We've got a staff of 91 people at the Mackinac Bridge Authority. There are 40 full-time members there, 24 intermittent personnel, and 27 seasonals. We had a credit card update from Chief Financial Officer, and the postings will be done at the toll booths on the, if people who use a credit card to make a crossing, that there will be a service charge added to their credit card expenditure. And Chair, that concludes my report of the Finance Committee.
Thank you very much, and I assume that was in the form of a motion to approve the Finance Committee report.
I so move approval of my report.
Or is it-
By IDs.
Do I have support? Been moved, supported that the Finance Committee yesterday be accepted the report back. Is there any discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. And at this point in time, go ahead, Kim, I'm sorry.
I hate to interrupt you, but I had told Chief Woods and Bryce Tracy that they'd be allowed to speak during the previous item related to the annual bridge walk.
Okay,
So I hate for them to have to wait till public comment
Yeah.
through our closed session. So,
well, we could have listened to them right off the get-go, yeah.
right, so I
Yeah, please do.
renege on the offer that I
Yeah.
made for them to speak
Yeah.
during that one,
Yeah, I didn't realize that.
yeah. So this is Bryce Tracy, he's
Good morning, sir.
911, emergency management area and instrumental in helping us tremendously during Ridge Walk and many other law enforcement related things.
Hi there. Good morning, everybody. Pleasure to be here today. Hello, everybody. Bryce Tracy. I'm the Director of 911 and Emergency Management for Mackinac County. Just a little history. In my capacity of participating with the annual Bridge Walk since 2007, I've been a member of what we would call the planning section and the unified command team that supports the operation during the Bridge Walk itself. So I'm sort of what I'm going to call a liaison conduit piece between the Bridge Authority, the Michigan State Police, local emergency responders from fire and EMS. In the early iterations, 2007 up until 2017, it was mainly a communications aspect that I was part of. But ever since the format of the Bridge Walk changed in 2017, primarily due to security and safety concerns, that whole planning function came into a whole lot more. There's a lot of layers, it would take too long to cover for you today, that go into the operation of supporting the Bridge Walk, both from a safety and security standpoint. There's a ton of things that go on, hazard assessments, threat assessments, preparing for a lot of potential events that affect the life safety of not only the walkers, but also the people that are working during the event. I actually have a quick question. I want to clarify the action that was earlier. In previous meetings, it was brought to you that local law enforcement, EMS, and fire department put forth to you some potential expenses that are output at the local level to help support the Bridge Walk. I want to ask the question, the action that was just taken is for future funding support for that is not going to be considered by the Bridge Authority. Is that correct? I want to ask that. Okay. I'm going to be quite frank with the board. that is going to make us change our posture in a negative way in being able to support the bridge walk safety and security going forward. And I'm gonna give you a couple reasons why. If anything, an aggressive nature that would cause harm to human life, that would require emergency medical support or require support from local law enforcement, EMS and fire services that merge in with the state police security staff and work together in this collaborative event, is going to be in danger of not being there yet this year for the walk and for future walks. The event is supported outside of the state police by approximately 150 other emergency services personnel, including 10 ambulances with mass casualty support and about 40 staff, and about 40 to 50 fire department personnel who are also cross-trained in fire and medical to take care of rescue and EMS services. Well, in my professional opinion, in my professional background as a planning person who has to prepare for a bunch of contingencies and safety and security for not only the people who participate in the bridge walk, but also the operating staff and the security staff who go from there, we are putting ourselves at a great risk and danger of not being able to respond to emergencies properly or take care of human life as possible if something were to happen. I'm going to be quite frank also with the board. The environment today of having a high public assembly event, such as the bridge walk, without those contingency and safety plans in place is a liability nightmare for you. It's your event. We completely respect that. Okay. The ask from the locals for some reimbursement funding from that is not because we don't want to support the event. We understand the economic impact of the event at the local level. A study that was done provides some more insight to that we may have not known before. But you have to understand that we pull from more than just a 3-county area to make this event be secure and safe. State police pulls statewide. Local fire and EMS, we pull from about a 6 to 7 county area to help support this event. Plus, to take care of the day-to-day emergencies that are still going on outside of the bridge walk itself during Labor Day. The impact of tourism and what I'm going to call the busyness going on during that day alone is not just focused between St. Ignace, Mackinac City, and the bridge. There's tons going on outside the area. Now, I will tell you that most of the time during the bridge walk event, our safety and security concerns is what I would call actual incidents are not very many. We load up to prepare for a large scale event such as a mass casualty incident or something of sort. We generally don't have to, I'm gonna use the term fire a shot during this. We're there prepared, the presence is there, the public sees that, they know that they're gonna be safe and prepared, but we are prepared for that large catastrophic event there. Probably the biggest factor that makes a change in the bridge walk for that is going to be the weather of the day. If we have a warmer day, we have a lot more EMS calls. We get a lot more fatigued participants, exhausted participants, the slip, trip, and fall hazards, or other things go through. I will tell you that our EMS services, including our hospitals and our network of emergency medical care providers that we work with, if we were to have a catastrophic event that would, I would say, injure probably greater than 30 to 40 people in a, what I would say, a high priority medical event, we are going to strap our EMS services and our hospitals just with that alone. That's not considering, again, all the other stuff that's still going on day to day outside of that event. So I'm going to be honest with you, we are still going to support the Bridge Authority. We'll do to the best of our capability. But right now, going forward, in my assessment and working with my partners, we're going to have to go back to the planning table and figure out how we're going to keep a capacity to provide safety and security, specifically from the emergency medical side and from our local law enforcement side. You know, your city police, your county sheriffs, some of the other. There's a huge collaboration that goes on at the local, state, and even federal level for this event. So I would encourage the board to please reconsider this, if not today, but at a very near future time. Our final planning meeting for the bridge walk that I'm in charge of setting up and facilitating for this is coming up on August 6th. So right now, for me, I'm in a pickle. I got to figure out in working with my counterparts, how we're going to adjust this without that local support. Because right now that local support is in danger for this event. I'm just being quite frank with the board. So I please ask the board, the finance committee itself, to reconsider that there. Because you're putting all those folks at disadvantage to commit for the many hours and even many days up to for that basically 6.5 to 7 hour event. There's a lot that goes into it. There's many layers in this that I think that you need to understand. And if you have questions, please contact us. Ask the Bridge 30 folks to get a hold of us or get a hold of me. I'd be more than happy to sit down with you. There are some things in this operational plan that we can't share publicly, obviously, because of safety and security situations. But not only myself, Lieutenant Artfitch, Chief Woods, many of our other local officials that are part of the planning team outside of the Bridge 30 group, we'd be more than happy to sit down with the board or a member of the board to have a better understanding of those plans. Okay, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chief Woods? No.
Okay, at this time, I see we have a closed session. Ask that a motion be made to the board to enter into the closed session.
Move that the board moves to closed session under section 8(1)(h) of the Open Meetings Act to discuss law enforcement proceedings.
Support for that motion. Support. All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. There's no discussion on it.
Aye.
Oh, call. Give him a call, roll, make sure the guy.
Chairman Gleason?
Yeah.
Director Weaver?
Yes.
Vice Chair Milliken? Member Musser?
Yes.
Member Cheeseman?
Yes.
Member Aaron's?
Yes.
Thank you. Oh, everybody, 2 minutes here to clear the motion, brief meeting. Mackinac Bridge Authority will now accept a motion to reconvene the open session of the Mackinac Bridge Authority.
I move to reconvene the open session. Support.
Been moved, supported that we reconvene the open session of the Mackinac Bridge Authority. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Okay, Kim, Paul, 2025 meeting schedule. Any comments?
Yeah, we have one more meeting in the year, and that's scheduled for November 6th and 7th in the St. Ignace area.
Anybody have any comments or concerns about our November 6th and 7th meeting here in St. Ignace? Hearing none, thank you. Okay, is there any other business to come before the Mackinac Bridge Authority? The members. Any other business? Hearing none, we'll move right on to public comment. Anyone wishing to have any public comment? Okay, I guess a motion would be in order to adjourn. Yeah. Go ahead, Bill.
But I'd like to circle back to the discussion about the economic impact study that we listened to this morning. And I appreciated Mr. Tracy's responding to it and petitioning the Bridge Authority for continued support. What wasn't clear to him perhaps is the considerable expense that the Mackinac Bridge Authority already bears in conducting a bridge walk. The bridge walk is an elective event that the Mackinac Bridge Authority conducts. And unlike the communities in the counties around us, we don't have a revenue source per se. We collect tolls. And for every dollar we get at tolls, there's another $7.50 or so that is a direct economic benefit to the community that people spend here. And it just needs to be recognized that we are an engine. And as Lauren Brenneman showed us this morning, the economic impact from the bridge walk and from our annually in this 3-county area is enormous. And the Finance Committee, I'll speak on behalf of them in our conversation yesterday. Finance Committee believes that it's the responsibility of supporting groups, for which we're very grateful, to generate revenue in their communities to support the work that they're doing on the bridge. We're already writing big checks and we want them to be alongside us being able to do the same.
If I may.
Thank you.
Yeah, add to that. As an accountant, in the local area, I know that, while the state of Michigan gets a 6% use tax from all the rooms in the area, the local visitors bureau gets 5% room tax. And that is a lot of revenue generated for those visitors bureaus in the local economy, pretty much as a gift by the Mackinac Bridge Authority. We need to overstep there, but this is not really in our purview. Our business is transporting people across the streets. So those local visitors bureaus get all the money that is generated by that 5% room tax. And they also reap all the benefit of people coming to stay in their rooms. And it seems to me that there are other sources of revenue in their local communities who benefit from this bridge walk that they might look to for funding.
Any other comments? I just have one brief one. It would be very devastating to the economy. The Straits area, if that bridge walk didn't take place. Be a lot of businesses that I could clearly see in that report that the high number of businesses that actually benefit from that bridge walk. It was much higher than I thought it was. So. Is there any comments or further comments? Any comments, public comment? Hearing none, the motion be ordered to adjourn. Support, been moved, supported, so we adjourn the Mackinac Bridge Authority meeting of May 9th, 2025. All in favor, motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.